Our reading this morning is adapted from William Sinkford. We are a gentle and generous people, but let us not forget our anger. May it fuel not only our commitment to compassion, but also our commitment to make fundamental change. Our vision of the beloved community must stand against a vision that would allow the privilege of the few to be accepted as just and even holy. Our religious vision must again and again ask, who is my neighbor? And strive to always include more and more of us. As we intone the words that gave birth to this nation, we the people, we should add, we are and we should be both a gentler and an angry people.
I want to just give a little content warning. This sermon deals with violence. Last week, I was at a minister's retreat, and we did a really great exercise telling life stories. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Moth Radio Hour. It's on National Public Radio, and the speakers tell a story about something meaningful to them. Well, at the retreat, we had this deck of storytelling cards, and I drew a card that said, lessons. Prepare a story about a time you got schooled, from your alma mater to your own mother, a time when experience was the best teacher. Here's what came up for me. I work with people affected by the justice system, people who are incarcerated or have been incarcerated. The newer term now is justice involved. Now, I've never been incarcerated, so you may wonder why I got interested in people who are affected this way. I will give you one teeny piece of that puzzle, a lesson that was not my proudest moment. Now, I've certainly made many mistakes in my life, things that could have landed me in jail or maybe even dead. I somehow managed to avoid these uncomfortable consequences. And each time I moved a little further toward being a good person, a trustworthy citizen, and a good friend. Two friends and I, we were about 16 years old. We went to the Kmart. Do you remember those? And we all slipped something into our coat pockets. I guess we were shoplifting, not shopping. The security guard must have seen us and stopped us. Kathy and Mary ran for it, but I was nabbed. Another security guard chased Kathy and Mary out of the store, and they probably would have gotten away, but Kathy finally said, let's stop, and they were caught too. I don't know why they did that, maybe because they didn't want to leave me there. But the security guards gathered us into a room and called our parents. Now, here's the kicker. I never left the store with the item, the cheap plastic wallet I really didn't even want. I could have lied and said I was planning to pay for it. Kathy and Mary could have kept running. We maybe could have gotten away with it, but we got caught. When I got home, my parents were so disappointed in me. Their disappointment was enough for me to never do something like that again. The other thing this experience taught me was to help me realize that we all make mistakes. Sometimes we are awakened to the realization that we humans willingly do hurtful things, do the wrong thing. And that awakening comes out of having to face the consequences. And we learn to do better when someone loves us and holds us accountable. It's not really about the punishment. I don't even remember what punishment I received. It's about the restoration of the whole self, who we imagine ourselves to be. Putting our energy into self-awareness and atonement can go so much further than prison or jail ever can. And that was my end of the story. Now, I realize this crime was a minor one, but don't you wish we could all be so easily redeemed? I truly hope our country does not do what Donald Trump has loudly proclaimed we should do and shoot people who steal from stores. There must be better ways to keep people safe and deal with the harms we cause one another and our communities. When I look around, I see broken and destructive systems that deal with actual imperfect human beings every step of the way. Let's consider them: policing, incarceration, and re-entry. We all watched in horror as the life was snuffed out of George Floyd with callous disregard for his humanity, without proportion for the crime he committed. His crime was that the store clerk suspected he may have passed a counterfeit $20 bill and called the police, and he was Black. The police who kneeled on his neck until he suffocated or stood and watched it happen were held accountable for Floyd's murder, but that is not common. So often Black people are killed because police fear them, instantly judge the Black person to be a criminal, and know they can, almost always, get away with the violence they cause. Policing is alive and well and thriving, and I might say real change seems a long way off. At our recent Unitarian Universalist Association Annual General Assembly in June, the delegates passed what's called an action of immediate witness that asked the assembled to rise up to stop Cop City. Action of Immediate Witness, or AIW, is an effort to raise awareness about an issue that is pending and hot and needs you used to take immediate action. I had only briefly heard of Cop City, but on further investigation, I learned that this situation was destructive on many levels. According to the AIW, not only does the Atlanta Police Department, the Atlanta City Government, and 40 corporate donors want to build a $90 million militarized urban warfare training complex in a predominantly Black neighborhood, it is going to take over a forest. This is not reform, it's reinforcement. In a horrible turn of events, the police murdered a protester, Manuel Tortuguita Terán, who was shot 57 times while sitting cross-legged with their hands raised. The police claimed Terán shot at them, but the investigation found no gun residue on Terán's hands. The police will not be charged with his murder. The UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, and others are calling on the leaders to terminate the city's lease of the forest to the Police Foundation. This action of immediate witness calls for us to get involved in phone calls, letter writing, and more. 45 on-site protesters have been arrested in the first 6 months of this year. To make matters worse, the construction of this Cop City campus will destroy 381 acres of land in one of Atlanta's largest remaining green spaces, the Weelaunee Forest, sacred to the Muskogee people, who were already forced from that place in the early 1800s. In an article from the Brookings Institute just a month ago by Hannah Love and Manon Donahoe, the authors argued that forests like these are actually climate infrastructure. They cool the surface temperature, clean the air, and help prevent flooding. So Brookings argues that the protests in Atlanta represent the latest struggle in a larger movement to combat generations of public policies that concentrate the harms of environmental discrimination through zoning, land use, and criminal legal system involvement through racially biased policing practices in communities of color. And it has happened elsewhere in this country. Cop City has been described as a Hollywood dystopia. Many have been arrested for domestic terrorism, and there has been property destroyed. The park was closed off when it shouldn't have been. It's a mess, all to create a Hollywood dystopia training ground for more police using the same old tactics to keep us safe. It is not reform. Now it's October already, and much time has passed since this AIW was approved in June. As far as I can tell, Cop City has been approved by the Atlanta city government. There was a lawsuit to stop it, and there may be little that we can do at this point. But a minister colleague from Macon, Georgia, said that there may be an appeal. That said, there is talk of building something similar in Ohio, where I live. And watch yourself, Michigan. What beautiful forest will they turn into such a place as this? Protesters are already opposing the expansion of Camp Grayling in the north of the state by using 162,000 acres of state-owned land across several counties. It would more than double its current training ground, according to the publication Bridge, Michigan. I can certainly see why our UU siblings from Georgia have brought this issue to our attention. But beyond policing, there is much more to consider. For starters, we are jailing too many innocent people. In an article in the Atlantic Monthly in 2019, the article reminds us that most people held in jails have not been convicted, and as of the end of 2017, Black people were convicted at a rate more than 3 times that of white people. Their charges, too, are often minor: traffic offenses, marijuana possession, petty theft. Put another way, people are stopped, searched, cuffed, booked, examined, locked up, and upended from their routines, their families, homes, and jobs, to endure a few days or more in jail. Most will eventually see their charges dismissed or pleaded down, if they are charged at all. And adding to that problem is that people are often too poor to make bail, and thus they must wait in jail for their sentence. Now, if you can make bail, if you have money, you can wait outside the jail, you can go home. Bail reform is an imperative. Poverty should not be a reason for people to be locked up. And then there's the whole incarceration side of this justice system, which by itself is not a place for healing and atonement. I have served inside both the Montgomery County Jail and the Dayton Correctional Institution for Women in Ohio. In both institutions, there are not enough spaces or facilitators for rehabilitation programs. A sizable majority of the people who are incarcerated, 40% or more, have substance abuse issues, mental health concerns, or both. Sometimes rehabilitation does occur, but couldn't rehabilitation occur in another setting? I have heard people say, I would never have stopped using drugs if it hadn't been for the prison. I ask, what alternative did they have? What choices were they given? What does the state or our society offer? We do have other options, few and far between. None of them are perfect. But what we're doing now is not making us any safer or any healthier. Try some of these ideas on with me. First, policing. We need to develop diversion programs to avoid incarceration in the first place. These have been done in parts of the country. When so many inmates have mental health issues or substance use problems or both, how about treating those before resorting to the most punitive process of incarceration? Diversion programs are hard to get started. First, the police have to agree. They have to make the decision to divert someone away from jail when they are dealing with a problem. And the community has to agree to put resources into treatment facilities and programs that are not jail, not part of the carceral system. Police are not learning about these ideas. They are practicing warfare in Hollywood dystopias. We are putting our money into reinforcement of the status quo. Another easy, to me, idea seems to be bail reform. Encourage and enable our judges to make strong assessments about the potential for violence by the people in their courtrooms. For instance, most people who have been arrested for domestic violence are most likely to re-offend. People that have other offenses are often held if they can't make bail because they are considered a flight risk. But data show that most people will return for their court hearings. Let them go without bail. I repeat, poverty is not a reason to go to jail. And there are some programs inside the jail that can help as well. Right now, I'm participating in a program called Jumpstart. It came out of South Carolina and is intended to create a bridge from prison to reentry. The program focuses on developing your sense of purpose and your character to achieve that purpose. And the curriculum was created by a formerly incarcerated man. The curriculum is based on the book, wait for it, by Southern Baptist Rick Warren, The Purpose-Driven Life. Now, you may be shocked by that choice, but when I joined Jumpstart, I asked if people had to be Christian to be part of the program, or if conversion to Christianity was required to graduate, and the answer was no. Our local coordinator even calls himself a Christian Universalist. So we work in circles in the prison, and that's right up my alley. Now, I do have to do some theological translation for myself. But I have seen changes in the women over the course of the 40-week Jumpstart program. Perhaps the change is because release is getting close, or perhaps it's the result of the program content and circle-based sharing, or perhaps it's just being with them and showing that someone cares about them. One woman told the story of being confronted in the yard by someone trying to pick a fight. The confronter said, "I'm going to spit on you," and then did. The woman who was spat upon, our Jumpstart participant, said, "You know, in the past, I would have taken her on. That is not okay." This time, I took a deep breath and walked away, but I reported her. And finally, there is the situation of returning to society after incarceration, re-entry. When people get out of prison, they will have a felony record they cannot easily erase. It prevents them from getting jobs, housing, schooling, government services, and more. They need to rebuild their lives, often with little support from others. Audrey has recently been writing to a prison pen pal through the UU Church of the Larger Fellowship, a program called Worthy Now. She asked her pen pal what UUs could do to support justice-involved people. Audrey?
These are excerpts from some of Peter's letters. This is going to sound crazy, but grateful is definitely the word I'd use to describe my feelings on being here. I needed to be here, away from my addictions, away from negative and toxic people. I needed order and a clean mind and body. I needed to learn the tools I can use when I'm in crisis. Now I feel so ready to be home. Hopefully this will be my last birthday in prison. The closer I get to home, the more I get to thinking about the things I miss. I miss my family so much. I've lost everything. What it will mean to be free. I can't wait to cook real food on a real stove, to do the dishes and use a dishwasher. Oh my, to take a shower alone. To sleep with both eyes closed, confident that I am safe. To be in an environment where I don't have to be prepared to fight 24/7. Part of me is excited to go home. A bigger part of me is terrified. I'm going to be a felon first and a human second. I have zero intentions of ever repeating my crime. I felt so shameful, sad, and worthless for what I had done. I'd give anything to take back my bad decisions. You can apologize to everyone every day forever, and it never feels like enough. You never feel worthy. So the name Worthy Now gives me a teeny tiny dot of hope that I am worthy of a second chance at life, that future bosses, friends, and acquaintances would look at me and see that I paid my debt to society. My time in this place would be so much easier if I knew that when I got out, the world would forgive me. But like you said, the community is afraid or judgmental. So even after serving my punishment, I'm still going to be punished. A large part of society doesn't believe or understand that we are good people who made bad decisions. I hope I get a chance to speak up for ex-cons. We need a fair shake at a second chance. So many guys in here just want to start their lives over and do the right thing. I believe I can still contribute goodness to the world.
Thank you, Audrey, for getting those words from Peter. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "When will our consciences grow so tender that we will act to prevent human misery rather than avenge it?" The fears and challenges of reentry are very real, and sometimes people need to be restrained to be stopped. But recidivism rates are high, telling me it isn't the answer for many people. It doesn't stop them. It isn't justice. It doesn't necessarily keep us safer. In some cases, yes. We can react to violence with violence and injustice, or we can find other means. We have a long road ahead of us, but those of us who love justice and want to see justice for all will be well served by reforming our justice systems. We can learn to do better when someone loves us and holds us accountable. It is not about the punishment. It is about the restoration of the whole self, who we imagine ourselves to be. We like to sing that we are a justice-loving people. That's what we sing, and I believe it to be true. And isn't that just the hardest thing to achieve sometimes? To be a justice-loving people, remember that prisoners are people too. To be a justice-loving people, remember that our systems are violent and broken and need our help. To be a justice-loving people, remember that we humans have imaginations. We can come up with better ideas. We can try something new, especially if we work together. May it be so. May we make it so.